That team are going to stretch them over the top, but I still think it's blue-collar football, Big Ten style. That's where USC has struggled. I do not think Lincoln Riley, I'm sorry, is a good head coach. He's a great quarterback whisperer. He coaches from an offensive coordinator position, doesn't make halftime adjustments, and that's where I give the edge to Bielema. I don't like this game, but I would take the points with Illinois.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
There were some reports earlier this week that Russell Wilson may be sought after somewhat during the trade deadline. A lot of people have been talking about Jameis shipping him to the Bengals as they just need a quarterback to throw the ball. I think they need to move Russell Wilson out. Even though he says he does not want to be moved, you got to get back an asset if you can.
Oh, you do. Does he go to a team like the Saints? Where does he go?
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
It's time to sell high. Let's sell high now, Joe. Give me some sneaky sneakies. What do you got?
Yeah, it's Matt's favorite way to sell. Everybody knows that. All right, let's talk about David Montgomery. Look, Montgomery had a big total last week, but really most of it was on one big run. I still feel like Jahmyr Gibbs is the guy here as you continue to move forward with Detroit. I'm not saying you have to get rid of him for nothing.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
60,000 drunk New Yorkers who were there from 5 in the morning to 7 p.m., who dropped a house mortgage on a ticket to watch the United States team miss every putt that they can possibly miss, and you think someone's not going to get pissed off and curse people out? Wah! The golf fan wasn't civil. Wah!
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Hey everybody, welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid for the next 90 minutes. I am Adam Kaufman. Guests on the way as well. We are in for Craig Mish today to finish off your work week and help teach you a thing or two about what we have seen in the world of betting, gambling, wagering, casino, online, otherwise, you name it. And of course, we will look ahead to both college football and NFL action this weekend. We begin in the NFL, in the pros, because week 5 is underway. Thursday night football last night, it was a dramatic one where the Niners stunned the Rams in overtime. Heavy dogs in this one, as many as 8.5-point dogs, as a matter of fact, going in, with the Niners absolutely decimated by injuries. We knew, of course, no Brandon Ayuk yet. Brock Purdy was going to be unavailable for this one. George Kittle, has been out since week 1. There was no Juwan Jennings. There was no Ricky Pearsall. This was to be the Mac Jones show and the Christian McCaffrey show. And maybe, just maybe, Kendrick Bourne with his former Patriots teammate Mac Jones could hook up and find some success. Maybe, right? Well, guess what? They did. That trio, absolutely incredible statistically. So here's what we saw. Mac Jones, tremendous, while gutting his way through injuries. For all the people that remembered him in New England as not necessarily being all that tough. 33 for 49, 342 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He really leaned on Kendrick Bourne, who did his best Jerry Rice impression. 10 catches, 142 yards, my God. And Christian McCaffrey, almost 140 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown as well. But the bigger story here in this one, unfortunately, it's not really the Niners win so much as it is the Rams just kept shooting themselves in the foot. Kyren Williams scored a touchdown to tie up this game after the 20-7 third quarter deficit. He tied it early in the fourth. Josh Carty has an extra point blocked, so it's 20-20 at that point. Niners go ahead on Eddie Pinheiro's 59-yard field goal with about 3 minutes to play, and then the Rams, they drive downfield at that point in time pretty effortlessly, honestly, between Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua especially, only to see Williams then fumble the ball on the 1-yard line. The 1-yard line. Guy fumbles the ball. How many times have we seen this from prominent running backs? I'm looking at you, Derrick Henry, so far this year. So he fumbles the ball. Niners end up getting stopped at that point in time, just decided to try and run clock. It was just run after run after run from Christian McCaffrey, but still with enough timeouts to give themselves a chance. The Rams, with good field position after a lack of gain there from short yardage by the Niners, get a field goal essentially as time expires from Carty, forces overtime. So we get to OT. Niners are limited to a field goal, and so that sets up the Rams with another possession to either tie or win the game, obviously, for those that are unfamiliar with the overtime rules here in the pros. And Rams get their turn. They go for it on 4th and 1. Now, this is the decision that has been heavily dissected. They go for it on 4th and 1 in very manageable, if not short, field goal range to, again, tie up the game if they want to, with still 3-4 minutes remaining in the extra session, and certainly the Niners an opportunity to go back downfield and win the game if the Rams could not get a stop. And so they elect to go for it, obviously, but the crazy part was the two teams, they trade timeouts, and Sean McVay is trying to draw San Francisco off sides to get the first down that way. It doesn't wind up happening. Good discipline there for Shanahan's defense. And so the play call was, let's just try and run it up the middle with Kyren Williams. Doesn't work out. He gets stopped. They turn it over on downs. They lose the game. Now the Rams, they had been 2 for 2 on 4th down in this game, to their credit. So this was, the first time they tried for it and lost. But McVay, I think the big takeaway, this is how I felt in real time. I don't know about you out there watching, listening. Sean McVay had no confidence whatsoever in his defense to get a stop going the other way. The Niners in this game had been 10 for 21 on 3rd and 4th downs combined. So I think McVay was thinking, sure, we could each theoretically have a tie. I mean, obviously, I want the win. I'd like to go for the win. But if I didn't, if I settled, if I take the tie, well, what happens on the other side? And I just don't think he believed in his defense the way it was going there throughout the majority of this game. Nevertheless, we hear from McVay and Niners coach Kyle Shanahan.
Thought about maybe trying to draw them off sides. I took one, they took the other, and it was a poor decision by me right there. But, you give the Niners credit. They made enough plays to be able to win the football game. We had plenty of chances throughout this game. We stayed in it. We fought. We battled. But there's a lot of things that we have to be able to clean up, and a lot of football left. But I'm pretty sick right now. I'm sick of the spot that I put our group in to end the game. But, hey, these are the tough beats that you got to be able to learn from and move forward, and that's what we're going to do.
I can't say enough about the guys. They were unbelievable. We talked how long this game was going to be, how focused we had to be, how competitive we had to be for the entire time, and started out great. But, it was a good team. They tightened it up, got real tight at the end, lost a number of dudes who we had to overcome, losing 2 D linemen in that game, and the D line still stepping into a big. Alfred getting that strip at the end. It was a huge character win. We've been in tight ones all. How many have we had? All 5 of them. Had a chance to pull out last week. We didn't, but pulled this one out, and can't be more proud of the guys.
Rams certainly could be 5-0. They're 3-2 instead, and it's the Niners in front, despite all the injuries, leading the NFC West at 4-1. MLB wildcard round is over. We're setting up best of 7s now. The Red Sox, the very first team in the current wildcard format to win the first game in the best of 3 and then lose the series. The others 15-0. That includes the Tigers, the Dodgers, the Cubs, who all advanced in the last couple of days as well. More on them in a moment. The Yankees, of course, they fall to Garrett Crochet back in game 1, but then they get the best of Brian Bayo, and last night, Connolly early. Defense did not help them out. The story, though, really, Boston suburb native and perhaps future Yankees ace, Cam Schlittler. 8 shutout innings, no walks, 5 hits, a dozen strikeouts for the rookie in his first postseason start.
Yeah, I think honestly before the game started, just with the bullpen I had out there, I'm just very in control of all my pitches and being able to mix that. So, I think once I got past the first, second inning, I was able to really get in a rhythm.
When you were walking off the mound, the 7th inning, then the 8th inning, your head down into the roar of the stadium, what are you saying to yourself?
Nothing really. Just again, keep my head down, just making sure I'm locked in and not getting too over aggressive with the emotions.
Okay, Dave here on the left.
Cam, as a Boston kid, do you even realize what you've done so far? 8 scoreless innings, 12 strikeouts as a Yankee. against the Red Sox? Has it even sunk in with you yet?
No, not really. Again, I mean, I'm just happy we won the game, but again, able to go out there and then give Bednar a shot to close it down.
Yankees will head to Toronto next, beginning tomorrow. The Cubs, they outlasted the Padres 3-1 to advance in their rubber game to Milwaukee. The Cubs cranked out 13 hits, chase Yu Darvish in just the second inning of that game. As for the Tigers, we all know we've been talking about it for weeks. They blew a 15.5 game lead in the American League Central to the Guardians, who go on to win that division, obviously, but the Tigers get the ultimate revenge, knocking them out in their house in Cleveland in the playoffs. 6-3 the final in Game 3 to set up a trip to Seattle. The Tigers 4 runs in the 7th inning. That was the difference in that game. Couple of NFL notes. The Ravens, we don't know for sure, but we don't expect to see Lamar Jackson under center against the Texans this weekend. Those two teams 1-3 coming into this game. Vikings will continue to start Carson Wentz in London against the Cleveland Browns. No J.J. McCarthy. Chuba Hubbard is out for the Panthers this week against the Dolphins, and looking like Bucky Irving for the Buccaneers is going to miss time as well. We'll be back. Whole lot on the way. It starts with college football on the other side.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
There were some reports earlier this week that Russell Wilson may be sought after somewhat during the trade deadline. A lot of people have been talking about Jameis shipping him to the Bengals as they just need a quarterback to throw the ball. I think they need to move Russell Wilson out. Even though he says he does not want to be moved, you got to get back an asset if you can.
Oh, you do. Does he go to a team like the Saints? Where does he go?
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
That team are going to stretch him over the top, but I still think it's blue-collar football, Big Ten style. That's where USC has struggled. I do not think Lincoln Riley, I'm sorry, is a good head coach. He's a great quarterback whisperer. He coaches from an offensive coordinator position, doesn't make halftime adjustments, and that's where I give the edge to Bielema. I don't like this game, but I would take the points with Illinois.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Well, Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there is some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back here on NewsWire. Adam Kaufman joined by our first guest of the program, a regular here on the program, of course, across SportsGrid, and that is Bill Bender of Sporting News. You can get him on Twitter at BillBender92. Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So let's get into some college football. We got some interesting games that are in front of us this weekend, and why don't we begin with Iowa State at Cincinnati. Iowa State coming in, of course, top 15 team in the country. This is a nice, easy noon start Eastern for the people to get the day going tomorrow. And coming into this game, I mean, it's a 1.5 point spread. Obviously, it's a virtual pick'em here in this game. Slight plus money to the ranked team, Iowa State, where it looks like the money has been going in this game is to the over 55.5 points. I think a lot of people, independent of which way they think the game itself is going to play out, just expect to see scoring. How do you see it?
I actually feel the other way on an under. I think Iowa State's got a tight defense. I know they have some injuries on the back end, and they're going to have a task in slowing down Brendan Sorsby, who, last memory of the Nebraska game, that late interception, but ever since then, he's been brilliant. So I know Cincinnati has a high-scoring offense, but I look at Iowa State on the road here. I think they're going to try to limit the possessions, be efficient with Rocco Becht. I still like them to win the game, but it is tricky every time you see the ranked team being the underdog in this situation.
As far as some updated Iowa State odds, like you said, it's strange to see a ranked team be a dog right here. So we're looking at a live team total of 9.5 wins here this year to make the to win the Big 12, I should say, at 6-1, making the college football playoff, the expanded playoff, almost 5-1 is. Yeah, what are your expectations, independent of this weekend, for this team in general as the season moves along?
I mean, they were right there with the other teams. Like, there weren't too many teams that won more games than Iowa State last year, and most of them were in the semifinals or better. So I think if you like that 9.5 and they beat Cincinnati, you're going to look really good down the stretch as a team that should make the Big 12 championship game. But this is one of those potential stumbling blocks along the way. I do like how they handled Arizona. So if I was picking a Big 12 championship today, and it is a very chalky pick, I think it would be Texas Tech and Iowa State, with the understanding that Arizona State and some other teams like BYU could get in the mix and we could have some November chaos in that conference. It's a high probability that will happen.
Alabama and Vanderbilt. This is a premier matchup. Couple of top 20 teams. Bama at 10, Vandy at 16. And this is another one that has a total of 55.5, by the way. I'm still trying to figure out really what to make of Alabama, because thinking about this team quite a bit going into the Georgia game last week, I haven't really been sold on Bama. I certainly haven't been sold on the coach DeBoer. I haven't been sold on Ty Simpson, the quarterback, but it's hard to ignore what they just did. I thought Georgia was going to win that game, and it wound up being the dog Alabama with the slight field goal victory. That just in and of itself has me tempted to take the points with, Vandy, just thinking, all right, I think we're probably going to get a close game. I'm not expecting Vanderbilt to shock the world and win the thing necessarily, especially at Bama, but I also don't expect Bama to run away to the tune of, again, a 10.5 point spread, 2 touchdowns, whatever it winds up looking like. What about you?
I'm kind of with you. I don't really know what to do. I know that if Nick Saban were on the sideline, there is no doubt I would take Alabama in the double digits in the revenge game situation and all of that. I know that Diego Pavia has a unique opportunity. There hasn't been a quarterback beat Alabama in back-to-back seasons since Brandon Cox was at Auburn. He beat them 3 times in the Iron Bowl. Think about that. That split the Saban era. That was Saban's first year, was the last year of that. I'm going to take Alabama to cover anyway. I think they make enough big plays. It could, but this is a high possibility that if you take Alabama to cover, you're going to be sweating that backdoor cover in the end, because I do think Diego Pavia and his high efficiency with this offense, that they'll definitely have a chance to hang around.
Let's talk a little bit more about Pavia, and let's mix in Ty Simpson as well. We could show people their season stats. I think Simpson in particular, completing about 70% of his passes, north of 1,100 passing yards, the 11-0 touchdown to interception ratio to this point. I would tell people or remind people that, there's a lot of garbage time, not garbage time, but garbage opponent stat accumulation in there. But Georgia notwithstanding, again, he was very good against the Bulldogs last time out. So have I been unfairly critical of this guy throughout this year? Or does he deserve to be in the Heisman conversation?
Well, he keeps it in front, right? Like, I had good numbers against Wisconsin too. It's like Wisconsin is having a bad season, but they still typically have a tough defense. So I think for Ty Simpson, if he continues to play on these stages and play well, that he'll have a chance to get in the mix there. I mean, they're not a big take a bunch of vertical shot type team, but he'll continue to throw to Ryan Williams, continue to make plays. And he's kind of the rule of A.J. McCarron. If Diego Pavia is the Johnny Manziel in this game. So I think they're going to both put up big numbers.
Let's go to Texas and Florida, where the number 9 Texas squad is at Florida. I know we didn't do more on Pavia. That's okay. Let's mix in some more of these games here. Texas is a team, you and I have spoken about this team plenty and been critical of Texas along the way and just sort of waiting for an awakening. This is a great opportunity on the road. Again, we're looking at Texas as a fairly considerable favorite, I think, all things considered, 4.5 points. And looking like most of the handle, most of the money is on the Texas side of things, whether just on the money line at north of 2-1 or to cover. Again, let's just call it a touchdown or multiple field goals with that -4.5. How do you see this one ultimately playing out? Is Florida going to do enough to make some noise here?
Who can complete more passes of 10 yards or more? DJ Lagway, 43%. Arch Manning 47% against these tough defenses. And Texas has won 9 of their last 10 road games straight up, and the only loss is at Ohio State. So I do think, even though this line's dipped a little bit, I trust that Longhorns defense on the road. I trust them to make a couple plays. And, Arch, unlike Uncle Peyton, I think he's going to get a win against the Gators this weekend.
All right, before we run out of time, 30 seconds. You have a quick feel for Miami at Florida State?
Watch out for Ruben Bain. 13 hurries the last 2 games. I think they win in the trenches. It'll be a classic, but I do like the Hurricanes to continue their unbeaten season.
Bill Bender from Sporting News, a regular here on NewsWire across the SportsGrid network. Get him on Twitter at Bill Bender and the number 92. Bill, always appreciate the time. Look forward to chatting again soon.
Yep.
Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there is some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. That's you're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where like Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. You can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. It is time for our SportsGrid Sound Off. All right, so who remembers when the Jets were good? Raise a hand. Anybody remember? 0-4. I know, not great. Positioned maybe to get that first win of the season this weekend against the just absolutely dismantled by injury Dallas Cowboys. Not having Micah Parsons doesn't help either. But you know what? There was a point where the Jets were good. They last made the playoffs back in 2010. And you know who the offensive coordinator was from 2006 to 2011 when that team did make the playoffs a few years, going even to the AFC's conference final a couple of times before losing short of the Super Bowl? Brian Schottenheimer. That's right. He was the offensive coordinator way back in the day, and he is making his return as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys now.
Brian, Todd Archer with ESPN. Last week was all about Micah's return here. How much is this week about your return to the Jets?
little different. Wasn't as big of a story when I left the Jets. But it'll be good. There's still some people in the organization I'm really close with, and I like to think this way. I spent 6 years as the OC in New York. I think that's the longest tenured coordinator there since the early 70s. It can feel like dog years at times because they're such great fans. And it'll be fun to be back there. So I guess I was the coordinator there for 42 years. But no, we had great success, man. We won a lot of games, and I'm proud of, the fact that we, went to back-to-back AFC championships and things like that. But it's about people for me.
Cowboys did very nearly upset the Packers last week in that crazy 40-40 tie. Scorigami. First time we'd ever seen that in the NFL. But to the Jets' advantage here in this one, I would say Justin Fields is set up to showcase that mobility against a terrible Cowboys defense that everybody, including Russell Wilson there at the Meadowlands, has been exploiting throughout this year as well. So we will find out, obviously, what this one has in store. Should be fun for Schottenheimer to go up against the old team, even though it has been, as he pointed out, quite a while. Going back to the Giants, we know Russell Wilson is not starting for that team anymore. Jackson Dart is, and he was electric in his first career start in upsetting the Chargers at home, even without Malik Neighbors. Neighbors, of course, getting knocked out of that game, done for the season, which really, just as a football fan, stinks. Really hard to watch. You'd like to see some of the best players in the world continue to be that and not get sidelined, but he is, which is an uphill battle now for Jackson Dart and company. And they're going to NOLA, going to New Orleans to face the Saints, a winless, a desperate team. And tell you what, Saints are favored. I actually like the Giants here.
What are you most looking forward to just improving from your first start to the second start after looking at the film with coaches?
A little bit of everything. Obviously, I think like expectation wise, I thought that I was going to, I think you just have the thought that you're going to execute at the highest level and you're going to do this and do that. And I felt like there's a few things that, I could have cleaned up, and it was good to see that on tape and definitely, trying to implement, things that I didn't play to my best ability yet and just try to correct those things.
The Saints are obviously in the quarterback market in the draft too. Mm-hmm. What was your pre-draft stuff with them? Did you have a visit, 30? What was your contact with the Saints? Yeah,
I met with them multiple times. Coach Moore was great. Coach Nuss was great too. So, definitely had a good relationship with them, during the whole process. And, excited to be on the field.
Dart, 111 passing yards, sacked 5 times, but did enough in that first win against the Chargers. The Eagles trying for a 5th win, looking for 5-0 up against the Broncos. Jalen Hurts, defending champ. What do you expect?
Yeah, from a macro perspective, I see it as a great opportunity. The negatives and turning them into positives and then building upon the positives. It takes true synchronization. Obviously, we strive for consistency. And it takes great focus. Nothing we can do can be casual. We just got to do it with great focus and great intensity. And that starts with our preparation. And so as we kind of build through it, I think we've had special spurts of football, and it's been very efficient football at rates. And then we've had these lows, and so we just got to stay together and band together, stay committed and true to the collective of going out there and playing, team offense and continue to put points on the board.
Well, Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there is some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
He's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him. They're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. And you can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back here on NewsWire, hour to go, multiple guests on the way, and a whole lot of fun. Every once in a while, we like to break away from obviously just giving you previews and predictions and things that we expect in the upcoming games and tell you a little bit about the space. And that is where we bring in our good friends from the Legal Sports Report. Today, it is our pal Sam McQuillan, who is boasting a new headshot on Twitter. I noticed that. Sam_McQuill. Sam, welcome back. How are you, pal?
I'm doing great, Adam. Thanks for noticing.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Kalshi. We've been talking about Kalshi for a little while here, as they have really started to kind of impact the space, the predictive markets in a lot of different ways. But now parlays are in the mix, which I think is really, for one, it's consumers love it, and it's impacting a lot of people favorably in that end. There is an element of this that is not so good elsewhere, though, outside of Kalshi, and that is for some of the U.S. sports books that saw a drop in stock prices as a result of people really flocking to this new market. What do you make of what we've seen so far?
Yeah, it's a really interesting scenario. Parlays, obviously, if you know anything about sports betting or the U.S. sports betting business at all, it's what has driven the backbone of profitability for sports books like FanDuel and DraftKings that kind of for years were just emptying their wallets on acquiring customers, and investors really wanted to see them show how they could turn a profit. So they shoved these high margin bets down people's throats, and they've been doing it. If you open the apps, you see same game parlay, bonuses, and everything's geared around getting people to bet more parlays. That's what Wall Street wants to see, is people betting more parlays, because those bets are twice as profitable for sports books. Usually the hold is much higher for them. It's just better bets for the sports books in general, on top of all the extra stuff, like they attract people to bet them more. When you see somebody win $5 to win 1,000, it's kind of free advertising for them. So this has been their crown jewel for the most part. It's the reason that FanDuel and DraftKings are kind of in the lead, and then there's everybody else, because they do it better than anybody else. They have the product, they have the technology in the app. Enter prediction markets, which have just started to do basically a version of sports betting in 50 states, including states where sports betting is illegal. They haven't been able to do this so far, which FanDuel and DraftKings executives have said, that makes us not worried about them. We have a better product. People want to do parlays. It's much more profitable. Then flash forward to this week, suddenly before Monday Night Football, all of a sudden Kalshi, which is partnered with Robinhood, unveils its same game parlay product, which again, it's not calling parlays, it's calling a make your own combo prediction because it doesn't want to be regulated as gambling. It wants to be federally regulated. They did about $256,000 in handle on the Monday Night Football games with the first test of their parlay product, which is much smaller than a sports book would take on any given game. I want to make sure that's clear. It's not the same amount of handle. It's much less money. But what that did among the investing community was get everyone worried about sportsbooks' ability to offer this product, or prediction markets' ability to offer this product, which would kind of infringe on the crown jewel that sportsbooks have. So the stocks took a massive hit. DraftKings fell 12% the next day. Flutter, which owns FanDuel, fell 10% the next day, as kind of the investment community tries to figure out, okay, is this a long-term threat? Are these prediction markets going to stay around? We don't know when legal clarity will come. It doesn't seem like it will for a long time. In the meantime, the states tell DraftKings and FanDuel and every other sports book, hey, you can't do this because it's going to piss us off and we'll revoke your license. In a state like Ohio, if you do it where we think it's illegal in California. So it creates this quandary of sportsbooks having to kind of wait on the sidelines while these prediction markets obviously only ramp up their offerings, make their technology better, and seemingly expand the money that they take. So some investors believe it's actually a good opportunity to buy now because it won't last. Other investors think it's more of a threat. So yeah, it's caused quite a tizzy in the stock market community so far. We'll see what kind of comes out of it in a few weeks when we have the G2E conference in Las Vegas, where presumably DraftKings and FanDuel and everyone else will kind of address the elephant in the room. And, we'll see if these stock hits are real and here to stay, or if kind of prediction markets are, just a temporary thing.
So as you said, Kalshi being a threat or perceived threat to some of these U.S. mainstream sports books, does Kalshi, though, have a threat or some competition outside of those books? Because we are looking at Polymarket US potentially could become the second federally regulated operator to offer sports predictions, election predictions across all 50 states as soon as next week. So what's on the horizon here?
Yeah, Kalshi's biggest competitor has always been Polymarket, more globally, because Polymarket hasn't been able to operate in the US. These are two platforms that are these event contract prediction market spaces. Before they started doing sports last year, it was mainly around the election, economic events, weather, etc. Now that sports is a huge booming business for prediction markets in the US, Polymarket's made a move to enter the US, as you said, seemingly as soon as next week. They self-certified with the CFTC this week to start offering money lines, spreads, and totals on NFL games. So basically another sports betting product. That kind of joins them on the sports space with their biggest competitor, Kalshi, which does already have a leg up now that it's, is the first to do it, offering parlays and other products. But I think what this will do mostly is kind of ramp up the pressure within the prediction market competition themselves, rather than a Kalshi versus a DraftKings. It's going to, be positioned more for a Kalshi. Now we have to compete against another company that can offer these prediction markets in California, in Texas, in these huge untapped sports betting markets where sports books are just not going in right now. They've, FanDuel and DraftKings have made moves to eventually maybe offer sports prediction markets in those spaces, but they have not gone through with them yet. They're kind of waiting for legal clarity. And while we wait for legal clarity, more entrants that are able to come compete and offer in those states, I think Kalshi is going to be, it's not a great sign for Kalshi, but I imagine it'll just ramp up kind of the competition more and more and just add to the crazy chaos we have in this space right now.
Sam, we've obviously seen sports books and networks or leagues partner up for years at this point in time. But I think as part of that evolution, now you're seeing some next steps. For instance, the streaming platform, Amazon Prime, has its new rights agreement with the NBA. It's an 11-year, almost $2 billion per year rights package. And now the sports betting side is getting involved. Prime announcing just Tuesday, a couple of days ago, that NBA betting fans will be able to link their FanDuel accounts to Prime profiles directly, which is, kind of crazy to think about having that ability. It truly is all right there at your fingertips. And once you're connected, active wagers will appear on screen and update dynamically throughout the broadcast, showing progress on parlays, props, straight bets, all of it. This is next level picture-in-picture kind of thing, to be able to watch a game and also see your bets tracked there on the side. Is this just the beginning of where we're going?
Yeah, I would say it's the beginning of kind of the next phase. We're both old enough to remember when the NBA was one of the main sports leagues that argued against legalizing sports betting. And now you have NBA broadcasts you're going to be able to watch your bet while you watch a broadcast on national television. It's just crazy to think about the leap we've made from pre-2018 to now 2025, where Amazon's partnering with FanDuel. Importantly, you can opt out of this. So it's, people who are annoyed or pissed off by having more betting being involved in sports. You don't have to see this if you don't want to. You also don't have to have a FanDuel account to see this stuff too. Maybe you're just interested in the betting integrations as a way to follow the game more. But yeah, I would say this is only the start of these kinds of partnerships. It's a thing that's been talked about for a while since sports betting was legalized, is when we're going to have more of that integration between how we watch the game and actively betting, encouraging fans to, hey, you're watching the action, go on. Let's place a bet on it. Let's get you more involved. That's what sportsbooks really want at the end of the day, is just foster more of that connection, more of that feeling like you're in the game. So you're kind of, more prone to placing money on it as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this evolves throughout the season. It's the first of its kind in any league. It'll be interesting to see, if we're successful here, if this goes to the NFL, the MLB, and just how far we're willing to go, or media companies themselves are willing to go, embracing sports books, embracing the money. We'll see what the returns are like for FanDuel, if it's a worthwhile deal. In the past, we've seen other sports books shed these kinds of deals, so FanDuel kind of going against the grain here, but should be really interesting, especially with, obviously Prime doing the NBA for the first time ever this season. They're obviously making betting a big component of it.
Well, in that last part you mentioned, that's really the thing I wonder going forward, Sam. Is this going to lead to more traffic, more consumers for FanDuel? Sam McQuillan at Legal Sports Report on Twitter, Sam_McQuill. Sam, thank you so much.
Now let's get to a player who was taken in the first round of every fantasy football draft, and thus far has produced the least points, George. I thought you'd just take a rookie running back in the first round and you get yourself 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. But Boise State's Ashton Jeanty for the Las Vegas Raiders, we got out of excuses, right? Like at this point, it's, they got to give him the ball more. They got to do this. They got to do that. George, does this guy look like Barry Sanders? Like, that was the comparisons? Like, I haven't seen any of that yet.
Our panicometer, all right, doesn't go high enough here. All right, because this is, come on, we're freaking out here. I don't think it's all Jeanty, by the way. He has more yards after contact than before contact. That pretty much lets you know what the problem is there. All right, the Raiders needed a running back, sure, but they need an offensive line. All right, they need a couple of offensive linemen. It's not something you can fix in one off season here. So yeah, we're gonna eat it with Jeanty. He's not gonna be worth the first round pick in fantasy. It's just not this year. In future years we'll see here, but not this year. The offensive line is not very good. The defense is not very good, so they have to throw the ball more in the second inning. They're trailing every game, so that's hurting us as well here. So like I said, the panicometer, it doesn't go high enough for this. Okay, I am more than concerned. I am not calm. I am critical. I am flipping out.
Isn't there going to be a time where he just breaks it free? George, like, what you said is not false, but I think there's a point being missed here. Why has he not broken free one time the whole season? Not once, to just run away. Like, he's Devin Singletary right now. No offense to Devin Singletary, but that's who he is.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
We're back on Sports Grid. We welcome in our next guest, who, of course, is over at Next TV. You can check him out there. John Lafayette on Twitter at JLafayette. John, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Great. Great
other
having
than
you
the Red
with
Sox
us.
losing.
Other than the Red Sox losing, and honestly, I could have seen the Rams game go the other way last night. That would have been nice as well. Hate to see all the money line parlays die before we even get to Sunday. But let's put that aside. Let's focus on some other elements of the NFL. and the media side of things, as we always enjoy getting into here on SportsGrid on this program. And so the question really is, could the NFL renegotiate its media rights deals? Roger Goodell has signaled the interest in doing so as soon as 2026. NFL deals with media partners don't include opt-outs, however, until after the 29-30 campaign, but the league is interested in renegotiating something sooner. What's the play here ultimately from Goodell?
Well, look, ultimately, the NFL can do whatever it wants when it comes to its TV rights. There's nothing on TV that's bigger than football, especially NFL football. This season already, ratings are up across the board. NBC, Fox, CBS, ESPN, Amazon. The NFL accounts for about 28% of the reach that the broadcast networks have, and that's also up from last season. Nielsen started doing a weekly list of the top sports telecasts. All of them at the very top were NFL games. The top game of the week, September 28th week, was the Sunday Night Football game on NBC when the Packers and Dallas tied. 23.9 million people tuned in. You can't get those kind of numbers anywhere else. The top college football game was Oregon at Penn State with 7.7 million. And day down the list was like things like Ryder Cup with 2.9 million, WNBA playoffs with 1.7 million. So when you're talking about the NFL, they really can do whatever they want. And what they're going to want is more money, especially after, I mean, they got a lot of money. They're getting $110 some odd billion dollars over an 11-year deal. But almost as soon as they signed that deal, the NBA got $76 billion. So suddenly it's on. The owners are going to say, the NBA got that. We're bigger than that. What can we do about it?
Major League Baseball has seen growth in its viewership and popularity as well, which I think surprises a lot of people, maybe even surprises ESPN. And ESPN is still in the business of airing baseball games, not as many as obviously it once was. And we've seen a spike in viewership going back to 2024. Fox up almost 10%, and that's whether it's traditional Fox, FS1, roughly the same numbers. ESPN even 21%, TBS almost 30%, MLB Network right around 13-14%, MLB TV, which of course the league loves to see, that is up a third, almost 34% here. What do you think has led to this? I mean, is it speeding up the game? Is it the ghost runner and the pitch clock, all of these things? Or is there something else at play?
Well, we're getting big teams playing big games, and that's always going to help. These current playoffs, you've got the Yankees, you got the Red Sox. It's a huge matchup. You've got the big teams from Los Angeles and Chicago and Philadelphia all in there. The first game of the Yankees-Red Sox series, it drew a record 6.5 million viewers for a wild card playoff game on ESPN. They averaged 4.4 million, and they got 3 out of the 4 series all went to 3 games, a deciding final game. And as you know, those deciding games draw the biggest ratings of all. So in a couple of days, we'll see really huge numbers for baseball. Now, all this is coming up at a time when ESPN said, hey, we think we're paying too much for baseball. They've been sort of downgrading the amount of baseball that they've been airing over the last 4 or 5 years, going from like 4 or 5 games a week down to maybe just on Sunday. And so they're looking at themselves and saying, hey, we're paying $550 million. What are we paying that for? And they had an opportunity to opt out of their deal, and they opted out of their deal. So that led baseball to sort of scramble. They've got a lot of deals that seem to be in place. They haven't announced it. Maybe they'll announce it right after the World Series. You know, they don't like to announce business deals where there are important games being played. They don't want to take the spotlight off of the field. But basically, you've got ESPN will still be a part of the baseball package. They'll be licensing MLB TV, the out-of-market games, which is good for streaming. They've got the rights to some local games, the Guardians, the Padres, the Twins, the Diamondbacks, the Rockies. They've also got a package of midweek games that they'll be able to fill in their schedule with. Now, who's jumping in is NBC Sports. NBC Sports wants to have a live game every Sunday night around the year. They've got the NBA starting up in a couple of weeks, and next season they're going to have a Sunday night baseball game over the course of the summer. They're also going to have some wild card playoff games. They're paying $200 million for that stuff. And then last but not least, you've got the guys at Netflix jumping in. Netflix has been sort of like dipping their toe into the sports water, and they're going to be doing Home Run Derby, which is sort of good for Netflix. They like to have a singular event, not necessarily weekly series, just sort of figuring out how sports works on Netflix. They've been ramping up their advertising, and sports is good because you've got natural breaks in advertising. Nobody complains when there's a commercial in the between innings in a baseball game, or when there's a timeout in a football game, or when batters are changing in a home run derby. So that's good. So Netflix is in there, and it gives baseball a bigger opportunity to check out what it's doing in terms of streaming.
John, before we let you go, you just hit on it. It's not just the cable packages, it's the streaming networks and some of those packages, like we mentioned, MLB TV, but it's in the ballparks as well. Third straight year of attendance growth for the first time since 2007. Almost $72 million, or million fans, eclipsing 70 million for the third straight year, first time since 2015 through 2017, which is pretty impressive. But also on social media, most viewed season ever on social at about 18 billion views. That is up 20%. Is this sport, this league, becoming a social league, much the same way as the NFL or especially the NBA?
Well, they're developing personalities. Ohtani, Judge, Schwarber. That's what drives the social conversation, is having players that you want to see and you want to talk about and you want to hear from. So that's all good for social contact. And it's also good for getting younger fans back into the game, which has been a problem for baseball all along.
John Lafayette, again, nexttv.com. Make sure you check it out. He is on Twitter at @JLafayette. John, always appreciate it, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
60,000 drunk New Yorkers who were there from 5 in the morning to 7 p.m., who dropped a house mortgage on a ticket to watch the United States team miss every putt that they can possibly miss, and you think someone's not going to get pissed off and curse people out? Wah! The golf fan wasn't civil. Wah!
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
$341 million of payroll. Best record in Major League Baseball through June 12th. 5th worst record after that. They would have made the playoffs, as his tweet says, because why? They just needed a win on Sunday versus Miami, and they couldn't beat the Marlins. They have like a $50 million payroll. The Metropolitans are out, but hey guys, did you see Juan Soto's great season?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Not betting wise, action wise. Like I got to watch this game at 12.
I want to see Notre Dame, Arkansas.
He's in, people. He's in.
I'll tell you another
Notre
game.
Dame.
It's under. I want to see Duke and Syracuse at 12:45.
Nobody wants to see that game.
Stop.
I mean, there's people that we know that would like that game, but we don't want to watch that game. You know what I mean? We're not watching any of that
Ricky
game.
Collins?
Big
Ricky Collins?
game Saturday, Joe.
Okay,
I need your focus back for this. It's the SEC. It just means more.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
We're here on NewsWire. We got a little time left with you. Mike Blewett is going to join us coming up when we return in, I don't know, about 7 minutes or so. We'll get into some NFL, looking ahead again, ahead to this weekend, looking back on the start of Week 5 in the league with our first big upset with the Rams falling at home, no less, to an injury-plagued Niners team and doing so in overtime. But right now, with the MLB playoffs going on, it's you know, we like to see how the sausage is made every once in a while. And how do these schedules get formulated? Now, in the wild card round, obviously, we know how it works at this point, seeing all dates in one stadium, the lack of travel. Certainly teams that are underdogs or the visitors or wind up losing the series are always going to complain about that. The home teams don't have a leg to stand on when the visitors, such as, say, Detroit, ends up taking care of business in that road stadium. But the front office show, which of course airs daily here on SportsGrid, explored yesterday how the schedule is made. If you missed any of it, we'll show you some of the clip right here.
Well, the MLB wildcard postseason has been a massive home run for baseball, as more leagues like the NFL and others are using tech platforms and analytic companies to use data to schedule the best matchups, all to maximize their broadcast viewership. So let's bring in Recentive Analytics CEO Andy Tabrizi, whose company is helping these leagues build these schedules. Andy, thank you so much for joining us. So tell us a little bit more about what you guys do and how you really helped Major League Baseball craft this great postseason.
So our role in the process is ultimately to provide, whether it's Major League Baseball, the NFL, or whoever it may be, software that enables them to understand with complete confidence that if they go down a certain path, here's what the outcome to expect, right? So if you think about the Major League Baseball postseason schedule, there's obviously plenty of options that they did not go with. And ultimately where we sit in is to give them software that they're able to look at and say, okay, if I go down door number 1, we're going to end up here. If I go down door number 2, we're going to end up there. Obviously, they have other considerations with teams and travel and relationships and other things, but where we really enable them to maximize the opportunity is to be able to say with about 98% predictive accuracy, here's what's going to happen if you do this, and ultimately landed on a schedule that so far is working out quite well.
Yeah, and I'm curious, Andy, how you're able to customize these various components to use the variables to predict real-time data around the matchups, but also ratings. And even maybe if there are some examples that jump out at you about how you guys are able to work through that part of the process as well.
Sure. So I think what most baseball fans probably don't realize is that Major League Baseball is actually on our software starting in the summer, looking at that point, hundreds of possible matchups, and if these 5 teams make it or these 6 teams make it or this team hosts, obviously has implications on the line down. And what we do is to build artificial intelligence driven platforms that process a very wide array of data sources, things that people probably think are relevant to MLB and its fans, and I'm sure plenty of factors that people don't think are relevant at all, to build predictive models that again have been about 98% accurate. When our model says this game will generate this viewership number, that ends up being within 2% of what ultimately happens. So if you're Major League Baseball, you have a lot of confidence to say, hey, this is the best schedule because that's what our crystal ball is showing us.
So what are these factors? Like, what are some of the things that you guys are pulling to sort of help? I know, obviously, the time window and all that other stuff helps, but what are some of the data points and the factors that are helping them make these decisions?
Yeah, so, I mean, if you think about or ask a baseball fan or a football fan or whatever it may be, right, what are the things that are impacting your decision or ability to watch a game or to go to a game? Most people initially will think of, well, how good are the teams and star players, playoff implications, maybe some fantasy sports components as well. But really, I could be the biggest baseball fan or football fan in the world. That's not my entire day-to-day. I have a job, I have a life, I have a family. There are things going on in the world that are impacting me as well. So whether it's what's going on in cable news, what's going on in the economy, weather, local competition, you name it on the line down, those are all the things that we're processing. There was a case a few years ago where the Queen of England passed away on the same day that the NFL season was starting off. And the reality is that that had implications on how many people actually watch the NFL kickoff game. So you think about that as one of thousands or tens of thousands of different events that are occurring every day. That's where we really come in to process those things, but more importantly, be able to help them quantify the implications of it.
That's wild. So there are external factors beyond even the sport itself, but I think an opening day matchup is, to me, the simplest to think of what's going to drive ratings. What about those down the wire? We saw even in baseball this year, those final games had massive playoff implications. How does your technology help to plan even that far in advance for the season?
Yeah, I think the key thing there is, right, that obviously competitive matchups with playoff implications, all else equal, make a difference. But the deeper step, which really is what helps them get to the best outcomes, to understand to what extent does that matter, right? The reality is that the Yankees are the Yankees, right? No matter what they're doing, they could have 100 wins or 20 wins. A lot of people are probably watching them, but there are other teams that are a bit more volatile, let's say, in terms of their fandom and who's getting behind them and watching those. So I think, a team like the Seattle Mariners this year, for instance, right? They have a very solid fan base, but they have been geographically kind of focused now as they've got
football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
60,000 drunk New Yorkers who were there from 5 in the morning to 7 p.m., who dropped a house mortgage on a ticket to watch the United States team miss every putt that they can possibly miss, and you think someone's not going to get pissed off and curse people out? Wah! The Kaufman wasn't civil. Wah!
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
$341 million of payroll. Best record in Major League Baseball through June 12th. 5th worst record after that. They would have made the playoffs, as his tweet says, because why? They just needed a win on Sunday versus Miami, and they couldn't beat the Marlins, who have like a $50 million payroll. The Metropolitans are out, but hey guys, did you see Juan Soto's great season?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Not betting wise, action wise. Like I got to watch this game at 12.
I want to see Notre Dame, Arkansas. I want to see.
He's in, people. He's in.
I'll
He's
tell you
in on
another
Notre
game.
Dame.
It's under. I want to see Duke and Syracuse at 12:45.
Nobody wants to see that game.
Stop.
I mean, there's people that we know that would like that game, but we don't want to watch that game. You know what I mean? We're not watching any of that
Ricky
game.
Collins?
Big
Ricky Collins?
game Saturday, Joe.
Okay,
I need your focus back for this. It's the SEC. It just means more.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Here on NewsWire on SportsGrid, it's smarter to be on SportsGrid, and we are back with Mike Blewett, who, of course, is a fixture here on the SportsGrid network. Check him out on weekends, talking you through some games during in-game live. He is on Twitter at Mike Blewett. Mike, good to see you.
Great to see you. Obviously, you got off to a good start last night. Not only was there baseball action, but there was plenty of football to be watched as well. Mac Jones with a huge victory for the Niners. Edging the Rams in overtime, jumped out to a huge lead. There were really interesting live betting opportunities on the Rams, but in the end, the Niners get a big win. And there was a lot of questions about whether Brock Purdy should have been playing the other day because he's banged up. Mac Jones saved Kyle Shanahan's bacon by getting a big victory last night.
Yeah, there weren't too many points at that game that I looked at the live market. I was just kind of sitting back and watching the game, but one place that I recall was it was 14-0. San Francisco had just scored its second touchdown early, and the Rams, because they were heavy favorites going in at 8.5 points when it closed, were still plus 3.5 on the live line, which if anybody invested in that at that point in time, you cashed it by the end of overtime in a game that a lot of people felt should have been a tie, maybe even a Rams win. Obviously, that Kyron Williams fumble late, it was, screwed up a lot of, I'm sure, survivor pools and money line parlays and all of that stuff with people invested in the Rams just to kick off the week on Thursday. But you mentioned Mac Jones. He went 342 yards, couple of touchdowns, didn't have an interception, was hobbled, almost it looked like knocked out of the game, but guts his way through it, returns, plays really well, leans on Kendrick Bourne and leans on Christian McCaffrey, and now has this Niners team at 4-1. A lot of the jokes on social media, because we know how long Kyle Shanahan, going all the way back to the draft a handful of years ago, was after Mac Jones. Boy, is this Brock Purdy contract? Is there a way that we could get out of this thing? Yeah, how do you feel about what you've seen in the now 3-0 Mac Jones experience in San Francisco?
For whatever you think about, for whatever anybody out there thinks about Kyle Shanahan, and I think some people give him the moniker of being overrated, for whatever his postseason failures have been, he really does well by his quarterbacks during the regular season, regardless of who it is. We've had several quarterbacks play under Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, and it's all been positive. There was a lot of talk about whether or not like when these guys were drafted, when that draft class came through as to who the Niners really wanted, that they kind of wanted Mac Jones, but Kyle Shanahan got talked out of it and ended up with Trey Lance. Obviously, that's a failed experiment. But to see that Mac Jones is now with Shanahan and playing this well, maybe it speaks to there was some affinity there all along. Obviously, it's Purdy's job when he's healthy, but it doesn't mean that Mac Jones isn't becoming a really capable backup for them, and maybe playing himself into another opportunity. In the long run with another team, a la Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold, guys that were found a way to rehabilitate their image somewhat during limited playing time and during an offseason. Maybe Mac Jones gets another shot down the road, but the Niners being in first place with a statement win on the road on a Thursday night was huge.
It's interesting, Mike, that this Rams offense is not as prolific as it maybe feels like it should be. Matthew Stafford went for almost 400 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. We know the costly fumble by his running back, Kyren Williams, late in regulation there with an opportunity to win the game just short of the goal line. And still, it was just when he had to, he almost effortlessly moved the ball along. They didn't get that 4th and 1 pickup for an opportunity to, either get into even better field goal range or again, try and win that game in overtime. But once again, that wasn't Stafford. That was the play calling. It was run the ball up the gut and they wind up getting stopped. And so what are you seeing from Stafford as he is really, tunnel vision for Puka Nacua and reliably mixed in Devontae Adams here throughout this first season working with him, that has this Rams team, I don't know, I think still very live to win this NFC West?
Yeah, look, I think Sean McVay is really one of the top coaches in the league. What's interesting about Nacua, and I heard this listening to Greg Cosell on the Ross Tucker podcast this week, talking about how Nacua is utilized, and he is always one of the receivers in the bunch set. So they move him around from side to side, but he's always on an alignment where there are other receivers next to him. Devontae Adams is the lone boundary X receiver. They do that so that they can get Nacua in space and let defenders get caught in the wash, have him run a lot of crossing routes. He's a very sure-handed guy. He might not have the elite skills of a Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, but he's so sure-handed that you have a bigger athletic guy becoming your possession receiver. That's massive for them. I think that's really part of it. It's not that Devontae Adams has lost a step. They are scheming ways to pick up a lot of first downs. And I think whether it's Kyren Williams in the run game or Nacua in the pass game, the Rams have been very good at moving the ball all the way down the field. Now, obviously, they struggled against Philly in red zone situations and having to kick 6 field goals, 2 of which were blocked. But I just think in the long term, I am bullish on this offense. I don't think Stafford is anywhere near, from a production standpoint, being near retirement. Obviously, he's had a lot of injuries over the years, so up to him. But I think he's really still playing at a high level, and I think that this team is very dangerous as we go throughout the year. My eyes don't deceive me. I saw what the Niners were able to do to that defense last night, but I would bet on the Rams long term as opposed to the Niners, despite these couple of losses here in the last 3 weeks. I just think the Rams are a very strong team down the stretch, and I think they'll challenge in the NFC to get to that championship game.
Let's show people those standings odds again in the AFC West, because as we noted, now you've got the Niners at 4-1, even money. The Seahawks just behind them, could be 4-1 by the end of the weekend. Slight favorites at home against the Buccaneers. The Rams at 3-2 plus 240. Maybe there's value on that. And the Cardinals, who expect to be 3-2 because they are heavy favorites, almost double-digit favorites against the Titans this weekend. So if you were putting your money anywhere in that division right now, is it on the Rams at right around plus 250?
You have to understand, everybody, I think, understands that the Niners have the easiest schedule in the league. It will benefit them long term. but here's the problem for the Rams. They've got a stretch here where they're at Baltimore. Now they have like a mini bye here. Jaguars, Saints, then at the Niners, Seahawks, Bucks. So these next, like as we get up to Thanksgiving, basically, this is not a particularly easy schedule. If the Rams are splitting these games, we're going to be looking at them mid-season and be like, what's up with this 5-4 team? Are they any good? I think the way they're built is very strong. I think they have the opportunity to pick up wins in most of those games. So my money would still be on the Rams, understanding that the Niners schedule is a lot softer than the Rams for now.
Mike, we're going to keep you around for a couple segments, but before we break, let's mix in this Sunday morning game as the NFL International Series continues. The Vikings, once again, part of this, first in Dublin and now in London, taking on the Cleveland Browns and a defense that has been really annoying to the opposition so far this year. We saw that against the Packers, obviously, a couple weeks ago with that late meltdown by Green Bay. So do you like Minnesota at -3.5?
I think, yes. The hook scares me a little bit. I've been very consistent betting against the Browns this year, under team totals on the Browns, and yes for the interception with Flacco. I don't think I'm going to change that because Gabriel is in, so I think the Browns are going to struggle to score again this week.
Yeah, it's not McCarthy Flacco. We trade out the veterans and the rookies. It's Gabriel against Wentz. We'll be back. More with Mike Blewett on the way.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
60,000 drunk New Yorkers who were there from 5 in the morning to 7 p.m., who dropped a house mortgage on a ticket to watch the United States team miss every putt that they can possibly miss, and you think someone's not going to get pissed off and curse people out? Wah! The Kaufman wasn't civil. Wah!
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
$341 million of payroll. Best record in Major League Baseball through June 12th. 5th worst record after that. They would have made the playoffs, as his tweet says, because why? They just needed a win on Sunday versus Miami, and they couldn't beat the Marlins, who have like a $50 million payroll. The Metropolitans are out, but hey guys, did you see Juan Soto's great season?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Not betting wise, action wise. Like I got to watch this game at 12.
I want to see Notre Dame, Arkansas. I want to see.
He's in, people. He's in.
I'll tell you
in
another
Notre
game.
Dame.
It's under. I want to see Duke and Syracuse at 12:45.
Nobody wants to see that game.
Stop.
I mean, there's people that we know that would like that game, but we don't want to watch that game. You know what I mean? We're not watching any of that game.
Ricky Collins?
Big game Saturday, Joe.
Okay,
I need your focus back for this. It's the SEC. It just means more.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Back with SportsGrid host and analyst Mike Blewett, again on Twitter at Mike Blewett. We are looking ahead to the Sunday slate in the NFL after a wild start to Week 5 last night with the overtime win for the Niners in LA at SoFi against the Rams. We've already chatted about the London game, Mike, Sunday morning, so we move to the main slate and an interesting one between the Ravens and the Texans. This game in Baltimore, a couple of teams that preseason division favorites, obviously, and heavy favorites in the case of the Baltimore Ravens, but both at 1-3, and a tight spread in this one of just 1.5, where the road Texans are favorites. People might be saying, why is that? Well, that's because Lamar Jackson banged up in the Chiefs game, not expected to play in this one, and a litany of defensive injuries for Baltimore as well. And so, despite all of that, we still see the Ravens as favorites to win that putrid division right now. I don't know if that's still the case at 1-4. Does Houston come away with the second straight win?
So both of these teams have serious question marks now. And I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say I had the Ravens going to the Super Bowl. Obviously, in some futures, I have the Bills locked in. I have the Ravens locked in. But my preseason call was Ravens-Packers for the Super Bowl. You try to dismiss your biases, and while I think they're still a really talented team, and we saw them play poorly in the first half of the season last year and really just light it up in the second half of the year, especially defensively, they have now lost guys that have a huge impact to the team. Lamar will come back eventually, but with a hamstring injury, how hampered is he? I saw a statistic earlier today. The Ravens are 25th in the NFL in called run plays on first and second down. For the last few years, they were third in the league in that. So why are they designing these first and second down passes so much when they have Derrick Henry there? Are they trying to conserve him? This is not the week to conserve him. I think this is a heavy Derrick Henry week. I think it will help the defense to shorten the game a little bit and tighten some things up. On the flip side, the Texans' offensive line is bad enough that it dismisses, for me, any ability for them to really make an impact this season. Doesn't mean they can't win the division and come back from their poor start, but it's so bad that it's making Stroud look bad. And I think, Adam, you and I would agree that Stroud is a very talented quarterback. He has no time to throw. There's a play last week where Jeffrey Simmons is unblocked, nearly killed Stroud in the process. So I don't know what they're going to do to fix this. They wiped out the offensive line from last season, and this version isn't any better. In fact, it's probably worse, if you can get worse than they were last year. So that alone has me concerned about the Texans' ability to protect Stroud. I could see this being a low-scoring game. I think it's a big Derrick Henry game. And I will take the Ravens to win this one, but it would not surprise me if this one's down to the wire. The Texans did virtually nothing offensively for 3 quarters last week. It's just that the Titans are so bad that eventually they were able to put up a couple of field goals and they got a couple of touchdowns late, but it wasn't like a vintage offensive performance by Stroud.
So we got another tight spread, 1.5 between the Panthers at home and the Dolphins, Mike. Now, a lot of people might be looking at Miami, of course, down Tyreek Hill now, but coming off that primetime win over the Jets and the desperation element for Mike McDaniel week to week trying to keep his job. The thing that I can't block out of my mind, not that I think this Panthers team is any good, but it's a tough road spot, the travel and everything for Miami, coupled with, boy, the one really bad week I've had in the NFL this season was because I had a lot tied to the Atlanta Falcons in just beating or even, staying in the vicinity of an alt loss to the Carolina Panthers, who they were favored against in the home opener there for Carolina. And instead, they got destroyed. It was 30-0. I kind of want to buy into the Panthers at home this week.
That's tough. I get it. Sometimes in the NFL, you just got to hold your nose and place the wager. I think I'm actually going to avoid both teams, and I expect points in this one. You are still betting on teams that are unreliable in that respect as well. But I think I'll just take the over with this one. I don't think a win-loss outcome will surprise me either way. Both teams have a lot of issues. The Panthers, if it's possible, are somehow more unpredictable than the Dolphins, who started the season off with that horrendous performance against Indy. So I'll go with, I would lean towards the Panthers as well, but I'm going to avoid it and go with the over.
No Chuba Hubbard, which is notable, obviously, for Carolina. And let's mix in one more. I think maybe two more. We'll see what we have time for here. Chargers at home against the Commanders. And LA is coming off of a very disappointing showing in the Meadowlands against the Giants. That was another one that really got me. I expected, much like many people, the Chargers to win that game, especially after Malik Neighbors went down. And now you got the Commanders, who won't have Terry McLaurin, but will have Jaden Daniels returning from his injury. Where do we go here with LA a slight favorite inside a field goal?
I think I'm going to go back to the Chargers. I think that was a very unusual performance by them. The penalties were out of control. I think they tallied 14 or 15 penalties in the end. I just can't see there being a repeat performance. Now, obviously, they have significant injuries along the offensive line as well, and they're going to have to figure a way around that. But Amarian Hampton ended up, despite all of those issues, with over 100 yards rushing. He scored. He's going to get the ball a ton. I don't think – look, Herbert under Harbaugh has not had the ability for the most part to throw 40, 50 times a game. He had to last week as they were in comeback mode. I think they're going to get back to basics, run the ball a lot, shorten the clock, and I think they can clean up those penalties. I mean, the Giants barely beat them, and that was a gift of penalties that they kept giving, plus turnovers, 2 turnovers by Herbert, 14 penalties for 107. I think that gets cleaned up. I think they get the victory against the Commanders.
Mike, 10 seconds. My Patriots going to shock the world in Buffalo in prime time. What do you think?
I think it might shock the world overall, but not against Buffalo, not this week.
8.5 point spread. Vegas would tend to agree with you. Mike is on Twitter at Mike Blewett. Of course, you can catch him on weekends here and during the week as well on SportsGrid. Mike, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Well, Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there is some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
He's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in,
right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. You can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Thanks to all of our guests who took part in this show. Bill Bender, John Lafayette, Sam McQuillan, most recently Mike Blewett. Want to thank the crew behind the scenes as well for making the show possible, not only today but throughout the week. Of course, Frank and Luke and John and Anthony. Craig will be back with you on Monday. I've had a lot of fun with you guys. It is time, though. We're not done. We're just about done, but we're not done. It's time for our Sports Grid Last Licks. All right, well, we start with the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, who plans reportedly to launch a pro flag football league in the next couple of years, wants to create a women's professional league as well. But more to the point of this story, the flag football league that he has spoken about, and I think it's just interesting because this comes in the wake of, not even a week or so ago, Tom Brady and this partnership overseas with a flag football, not full-on league, but a flag football event that's going to take place coming up in the spring that very notably has nothing to do with the NFL in partnership, but will feature NFL players, current and retired. Rob Gronkowski, Brady coming out of retirement, if you will. Christian McCaffrey is going to be part of this thing, among others. Just figured. We kind of even said it at the time we were talking about it here on NewsWire. You assume the NFL would have some sort of a response to that. And here we are. Roger Goodell saying flag football league is in the future. That obviously would be sanctioned, would have partnership with the league. And, we'll see about, who participates, obviously, in this event, whether it is retired players, current players with some sort of language in their contracts to account for injury. Because, look, it's happened. Back when there was beach flag football taking place at the Pro Bowl years ago in Hawaii, we saw injuries, devastating injuries that, impacted guys for the duration of their careers. So, I think the league pulled away from it for a little bit. Now this is what could be in front of us, and interested to see, obviously, where it goes from here. But end of the day, people just want football, flag, tackle, whatever it is. Can we bet on it? I would assume so. And so that'll be right around the corner. Brings us to last lick number 2, and that is, boy, if you were watching that Padres-Cubs game yesterday leading into Red Sox-Yankees, tough break for the San Diego Padres. You want to argue the Chicago Cubs are the better team and deserve to win the series and all of that. That's fine. Won't fight you on it. But the Padres certainly had an opportunity. Down 3-1 and nobody out in the 9th inning. And if not for a call going against Xander Bogaerts, who you see on your screen, we could have had bases loaded for the Padres with nobody out and an opportunity down 2 to tie, maybe even take a lead in that game and steal that game to advance in that series as the Cubs did. Bogaerts was called out on a full count pitch, I believe it was. Yeah, full count pitch. Bogaerts was called out on a pitch that was, very visibly below the strike zone, like several inches, and got called out on that third strike looking and didn't like it, argued it. Manager came out, all of that stuff for San Diego, and said that, he's just looking forward to next year with ABS, which for anyone, of course, who does not know, ABS, the automated ball strike system, is going to be making its way to Major League Baseball next year, where players will be able to challenge calls. And had that call been challenged and reviewed, Bogaerts absolutely walks, doesn't strike out, and then it's a completely different situation there for the San Diego Padres and the Chicago Cubs pitching staff, and strategically all of it in the 9th inning. Just a bummer for the Padres. I'm sure that's something they'll be talking about in San Diego for quite some time throughout this offseason. And again, Red Sox, Yankees, Cam Schlittler was incredible. Maybe next Yankees legend. We'll see. But the rookie, 8 shutout innings, a dozen strikeouts of the Red Sox. Of course, he is a Boston suburb native, Walpole, Mass, 35, 40 minutes away from Fenway. He grew up and now has converted his whole family to Yankee fans. A gambling influencer, friend of mine as well, Lucy Burge, who posts a lot on social media, put up a picture of herself in a Red Sox jersey. You can see it on your screen there, and said this was pregame Sox in 3. Well, after the game, Schlittler responded and wrote, not this year. So, he sort of this is where we're at. Mainstream media, players having their voices heard on social media after games. That's the kind of thing wouldn't have happened, 10, 20 plus years ago, obviously. But now right there in the mentions post game, in between, I guess, champagne celebrations there in that clubhouse. So Lucy, unfortunately, had to take the L on that one. Me as well, as a Red Sox fan. Again, thanks to everyone who was part of this program. Newswire back at you noon Eastern on Monday. I'll see you this weekend on the Brady Cannon tomorrow night.